Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Would you all please join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? This will be the best one we've had in a long time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kathy, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you fine.
Would you please do roll call?
Yes, sir. Mayor McGowan.
Here.
Matthew Lund.
Present.
John Glondo.
Here.
Rustin Weaver.
Hi, Kathy, I'm here.
Oh, good. Stephen Harper.
Present.
Nikki Holtz.
Here.
Beth Williams.
Here.
And Ken Ratliff.
Here.
Thank you.
So Kathy, can you, when we answered our to the roll calls, can you hear each of the council? Okay.
Yes, yes, I could. I heard him fine.
All right, good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So meeting approval of the meeting agenda. Stephen, you want to amend?
I move that we amend the agenda and that we place task order 2021-6 in place of officer reports, of which we have none. And that would allow Jordan Hancock not to have to be here for the whole meeting and be paid to wait to
Yes.
part of that portion. And I would seek a second.
Second. Moved and second to approve the meeting agenda as amended. All those in favor with aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting agenda is approved. I don't have any, well, I will say in our announcements, had we realized, everybody, this was going to be such a popular meeting, we would have had it at the senior center, I assure you. But
if you're going to wear your mask, could you get your mic right up to your mask?
you won't hear me anyways. What I'm saying is, had I realized everybody was going to be here, we would have had this at the senior center or up the school. So you have to bear with us, okay? Down to consent agenda. Do I have a
Move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
move to seconded to approve the consent agenda? All those in favor with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda. That's what I asked, that they be muted, Rob.
It's like a game of whack-a-mole sometimes. It's gotta be
New
there.
people come in and I think he needs to read.
Okay, Rob, you gotta stay on the mute, okay?
I'm trying. Yep, I get it.
All right. Okay, under officer reports, we're gonna hear from Jordan Hancock from HLA. Jordan, are you out there someplace in the, can you wave your hand? Oh, there you are. All right, yes. So Jordan, you want to walk us through what the task order from HLA is?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you tonight, and thank you for maybe moving me up a little bit. I appreciate that. So this is our task order 2021-06. This is for the First Street Downtown Revitalization Phase 3A project. So this project is the result of the Kittitas County Distress Tax 0.09 grant. That application was submitted earlier this year. We presented on the project in March to construct from the remainder of the block from Billings to Oaks, including the two western bulb outs. So the south block in front of the gas stations, as well as, again, those two bulb outs on the west side of that Oaks intersection, that would complete the first full block of the phase or of the downtown revitalization project. Something you'll see in the task order is that the design engineering budget is pretty small, and that's actually because of the phase 3A project, where we were able to complete shovel-ready plans for the entire project. There's just a small design phase in order to prepare a smaller bid package for that work from, again, that smaller footprint. Something else to note is that we are still actively pursuing some additional grants and other applications for work that we would hope that we could package with this project. So this particular task order, again, with the smaller design phase, is just specifically for that work. If we were able to get one of the TIB applications or the other application, I'm sorry, escapes me, but if we were able to get one of those, we'd look at doing an amendment and adding that work into this task order to complete all of that as one single package for construction next spring. So again, this is the task order with the city and HLA to do that small, uh-oh. Can you guys hear me? Everything froze.
You're still good, Jordan. I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. To do that design work. And then it also includes the construction engineering, again, when that project does go to construction, which is anticipated for early next spring. So I believe that's really everything I wanted to cover on that. Is there any questions on kind of what this particular task order encompasses or anything else?
I'm looking to the council for nod.
It looks good.
I would move that we approve task order 2021-06, authorize the mayor to sign such.
I'll second that.
It's moved and seconded to authorize the mayor to sign task order 2021-06.
Just go in the car.
Town violation project phase 3. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the task order will be signed with the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jordan.
Have a great night.
Yes, we will. Okay, we're at the part of the agenda for citizen comments. So when you have, hang on, Liz, we'll let you get up here. I know you have a different subject. We'll get you. There should be a sign-up sheet, so we're sure to sign up. If you have written comments, be sure to leave them here so that the city clerk can have them. And try and keep your comments to 5 minutes, and away we go. Liz, you got something you want to? Go ahead. And then come up, tell us your name, where you live, and say what you have to say.
Honorable Mayor and distinguished council, I'm Elizabeth Kurtz and I live at 112.
The mic does not produce amplification within the room.
Honorable Mayor, distinguished council, I'm Elizabeth Kurtz and I live at 112 West 2nd Street in Elum. First, I have an update on comments I made at the City Council meeting on July 26th regarding the City Heights 7 Hill project. Gordon and Carolyn Jones gave me a tour of the site. They answered my questions regarding funding options they're exploring and explained the work their group is doing to preserve our city's historic site and valuable artifacts. Second, I'd like to praise our fire department and the volunteers who responded to the house fire on East 2nd Street on August 14th. Their quick response saved the house and its contents. Elum Fire Department were the first to arrive and the last to leave. And to Medic 1 for standing by in the event of injuries. Thankfully, there were none. The takeaway, rapid response spares lives and saves property. So I'm here to comment on the Elum Fire Department report the council presented on August 9th. I take this report seriously, particularly the data reflecting the percentage of unanswered fire calls relative to the total number of calls dispatched for 2021. 31% seems high to me. To better understand the meaning behind the report, I submitted a public records request to our city clerk asking for all incident reports for Elum Fire Department for 2021. While I make no assumptions or judgments, I'd like to know how and why dispatch fire calls go unanswered. Understanding might help determine solutions to problems, if any exist. The response I got indicated it will take Chief Mills 3 months to provide these reports because he is part-time and must do it manually. Who oversees our fire department? Is Chief Mills solely responsible for information that comes out of our fire department? Who can he call to help him compile these reports in a more timely fashion? Let me share the response I received from the city clerk on August 16th, and I quote, "The fire chief responded with a count of 340 calls to date this year. Each call would require him to open each individual call report, print and copy, and will require most of his time as a part-time chief to ensure the records are accurate. Once the records are compiled, they will go to our legal department for review and redaction of any information that fall under a specific exemption contained in the Public Records Disclosure Act or otherwise needs to be withheld to protect an individual's right to privacy. Our estimation to provide these records is approximately 120 business days. We reserve the right to request extension should the need occur. The cost is 15 cents per page." In an effort to help Chief Mills, I changed my request to non-EMS incident reports, and I'm hopeful this reduced list will lessen his burden and provide reports sooner than 120 days. I've been researching ways to help Cle Elum Fire Department and discovered a reporting system that might be useful. It's called NFIRS, National Fire Incident Reporting System. Is a reporting tool that fire departments in all 50 states use to report on a full range of activities, from fire to emergency medical services to severe weather and natural disasters, plus requests for information can be readily available. Fire departments who use NFIRS can track and manage apparatus, personnel, and casualty information, document the full range of department activity, and justify budgets with summary and statistical data. Fire departments use NFIRS data to focus on current community challenges, predict future issues, and measure performance, program performance. NFIRS is easy to use. I'm waiting to hear from their representative as to the cost of this program, but I'm sure there are other fire department reporting and database systems available to us. I'm citing NFIRS as an example to illustrate the possibilities. While it will be a process and take time to implement, I believe a system like this will be more efficient, require fewer man hours to operate, and reduce the costs for resources, supplies, and equipment. We can customize it to meet our needs. The possibilities are endless and will serve us into the future as we continue to increase our population and expand our territories. After I've read all the reports and in keeping with my preference for information sharing and transparency, I will comment on what I learn at a future council meeting. It will be helpful if we can come up with ways to assist Chief Mills and our fire department to streamline systems and reduce redundancies to improve the functions of our fire department. I'm not judging or criticizing Chief Mills or the Cle Elum Fire Department. I have the utmost respect for him and applaud the work he and our volunteer firefighters do during these challenging times. I hope my suggestions will be considered, and I look forward to continuing this conversation with you.
Thank you. You want to leave us a copy of your, statement?
I'll have to get you one.
Yeah, get it to Kathy, okay? Larry, looks like you're taking the stand here.
I am. I'm going to get this thing started.
All right.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, thanks for having us. You can see that there's quite an interested party here wandered in. We have well over 100 people. I think there's 120 or more people that wandered in today. This is the product of 4 days worth of notifications to give you a little bit of an insight as to how important people view this 47 degree north issue. Hopefully you can hear me. I guess I can take this thing off. So in keeping with that theory about the importance of 47 degrees north, I have a comment on the written comment period. All right, the city allowed 15 days, which I think is completely unreasonable. for this particular application. This is not a standard run-of-the-mill application. The city has the flexibility to extend, and they should have, and they actually should extend it even now. The Growth Management Act contemplates full public participation in this type of an issue. There's thousands of pages of documentation associated with this proposal that have been going on for, a year and a half, kind of behind closed doors. Even the development agreement is really not for public display at this point. And so I ask that you guys consider extending this public comment period because it just seems completely out of whack to me. The application for modification, in my opinion, should have been rejected, and all of the time spent drafting the development agreement over the past year and a half should have been stopped. This is a planned mixed use district under code 17.45. The PMU allows for specific use districts, including residential single family district and residential multifamily district. The PMU is designed to encourage building design that is in keeping with the climate and the traditional rural small town mountain character of the Ple Elum area. That's a key point in that. Residential permitted use under CMC 17.16.010 requires one single family dwelling per legal lot of record. That includes manufactured homes. That's not what's going on here. We've got one giant, or perhaps they'll break it into 5 separate ones for the RV park and different parts of the developments. But residential, according to the city code, one house per legal lot. The multiple family residential code.
Yeah.
Again. All right, the multiple family residential code contains no allowance for mobile home parks. They're not an allowed use in this zone. The city is not allowed to rezone the area through a development agreement. Mobile homes, as defined in the city code, within city limits are considered non-conforming structures. And non-conforming structures can stay in place even as the zoning and the codes change around them, but they can't be placed once they're considered non-conforming. I'm rushing through this because there's a lot of people that want to speak, and I'll send a letter in with a lot more detail on this, but I'm trying to hit the high notes. Mitigation, this is the big one. The planned mixed use district under 17.45.010 states that all development must give adequate consideration to and provide mitigation for the impacts it creates with respect to transportation, public utilities, open space, recreation, and public facilities. All mitigation proposed should be set forth clearly in the development agreement and not behind the scenes in separate third-party agreements as proposed by the applicant. That's not being done, and it needs to be done. We've talked to most of the public entities around here, and although there have been some discussions on the side, this needs to be open and clear to these people that have taken time out of their day to wander here, and most of them didn't know a thing about this until a couple of days ago. CMC 17.140 specifically authorizes the city to include affected public service providers as legal parties to the development agreement at the city's discretion. In the interest of transparency and comprehensive mitigation of this unique and far-reaching project, the city should exercise this discretion and include the county, the hospital district, the school district, the sheriff's department, all of the affected parties. Transportation, and many will speak to that, is an absolute nightmare, and the proposed mitigation that the applicant has suggested is but a pittance of what it will cost to straighten this out. So that's all I have to say for now. I'll leave it to the rest of them for your time. We didn't mean to ambush you. The intent was for you to get a good understanding of how quickly this citizenry can rise up and take a position on the matter that they feel will destroy this community. Okay?
Whoever wants to come next, come on up and give us your name and
Good evening, Irene Bjorklund. I sent this note into City Council, the mayor, the planning department last Thursday. And what I'm urging you is to deny this proposed major amendment and retain the current approved land use for the property zoned and approved as an extension of Cle Elum's residential neighborhood. This amendment changes a traditional residential housing development to a very large manufactured home and RV park. I'm extremely concerned about the residential development, but I'm concerned about the the amended Sun Community 4th, 7th North proposal. And here's a few of the reasons. The dramatic increase of people over our current population and RV visitors will strain our already limited resources, schools, services, hospitals, the police and fire departments. Our emergency services can hardly keep up with the demand right now. And with this increase, they may break or fail. The increased services required will fall on the current property owners. You will not have a tax sharing base that will be representative of the expenses required. It's not in character with the city or the requirement that is the current zoning for the property. Denial of some community proposal would not take away or reduce the underlying property rights. The original underlying zoning approval would still apply for development of this site, just not as a private resort manufactured home community. And then I took some time to understand more about city council, the community, the process, the districts, and try to understand, because I didn't know a lot about this until just recently. And I went back to the adopted comprehensive plan of August for April 2019. And it states the residential strategy home building directly and indirectly generates a substantial amount of local economic value and activity, creating jobs. By changing it from stick manufactured homes, you are reducing the number and changing it to manufactured homes and RVs. You're dramatically reducing the economic value to the community. You eliminate local jobs of local contractors. You reduce the revenue that is coming in to local businesses, and you dramatically reduce the tax base. For all these reasons, I respectfully ask that you reject this amendment. And I live at 190 Cakewalks.
Step up, folks.
We can stay here all night.
Yeah, don't be
Seriously.
shy.
We'll hear anybody that wants to talk.
Sorry, I brought my laptop. Hi, my name is Patricia Garris. I'm a 5th generation of the Upper Kittitas County. Off and on, my family has been business members. My dad built most of these masonry buildings in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. He also, when we had a swimming pool, he did all the cement repairs for free to the city of Cleo. All he asked for was to pay for the city to pay for things like cement. He also built several buildings that the city got for only the cost of the masonry buildings. My family has been part of, we've been farmers, railroad, education, masonry, and military. The 47 North or North 47 is not only wrong for the people of Clallam and the entire Upper County, it's wrong on so many levels, including the people itself, ecologically, taxation, emergency services, medical service, health services, school district, and others. I could keep going. Some communities is in the middle of a class action lawsuit. They are also being sued for harassment and unfair treatment lawsuits by those residing and working for the Sun Community Company. Why is it bad for Cle Elum and the Upper County? First off, employment. The use of mobile homes and modular homes. There will be little construction, purchase of materials, taxation, and employment by our local people. Ecologically, I only listed one thing, which is water. Water resources are already tight, and they're getting tighter in the county and the west. Cle Elum has already embarked on a building extravaganza with a building on 7 Hill and 903. We're in the middle of a drought, and adding an additional 700 homes and an RV center of 600+ spaces will overpower the availability that we have for the people that are already here. This influx is not a sustainable amount in water, just water. We are already getting signs of people having their wells drying up. This type of housing development is not in the character of the original desires of the city of Cle Elum or of the Upper Kittitas County. This development would be a city within a city. There would be a law of up to themselves. The city of Cle Elum would not receive the amount of taxes under the currently proposed plan Sun Communities has put in, due to the lots not being owned by the individuals, but by Sun Communities. The trailer owners would have to pay lot spaces and most likely HOAs. Overload of roads, police, fire, school, EMS, medical, and public services, which are already overloaded and dangerously stretched to the breaking point. Sun Communities does not have a plan to mitigate any of this, nor do they plan to resource it. Bullfrog Road and State Road 903 are both 2-laners, in which with an influx of 700+ homes and RV people, this will further congest it. This will hamper our EMS and police. If they can't already get to 30-some calls, how do you think this is going to make it go? It's going to get worse. So they'll be unable to deliver responses to the citizens of the Upper County. The city of Cle Elum has received letters from the county commissioners, sheriff's department, Roslyn mayor, and a variety of other notable people, all in rejection of this request by North 47. This in and of itself should make the city council think about this matter before them in a negative light and reject it. There are many in the Upper County against this project in a current phase. 120+ people came out tonight to tell you that they don't want this. And not all of us live in Cle Elum, but it affects everyone in the county. Every weekend it's congested. I was on the committee for the back roads, and it's crazy. This will get worse. The proposition presented before the council is vague and does not spell out the intricacies of what's going to happen. If it's not spelled out to the community of Cle Elum and at large, it'll be taken advantage of. Cle Elum has been taken advantage of before. When we had a major resort come in, Trend West. When they came in, they promised the community a brand new city pool for the kids. It never happened. Our kids got nothing, not a thing. And yet the city of Cle Elum allowed it to continue over and over again. Why believe anyone when they don't put it in writing? Because then you can't take it back. You can't go after them. With all this that I just said, and there's a lot more, I urge the city council to reject the proposal by Sun Communities. And I'm pretty sure I just went over my 5 minutes. Anyway, my name is Patricia Garris. I live at 618 Cleveland in South Cle Elum.
Mr. Mayor, could I rise to a point of order?
Yes.
Could we respectfully request the public not clap after each thing? We know that everybody is in substantial support of the comments, but it'll help us in like moving to the next person.
Okay.
All right, nobody's going to clap for this one. My name is David Pecaleo. We just moved here 3 years ago. I am a member of the Cle Elum Fire Department. All right, so we are keeping up. Where the numbers somebody came up with earlier, I have no idea, but we're going to check on those. What I'd like to tell the council and the mayor, I'm just letting you know, if 47 North is not rejected, Eventually, every one of you are going to go up for reelection. All right, we're going to remember.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, I'm not threatening by any stretch of the imagination. I'm letting you know that obviously the community thinks pretty much how everybody's here. So everyone's going to have to come up for reelection. All right, and we're going to remember this. I guarantee we're going to remember this. That was it. Thank you.
Come on, there must be some, oh, there you go.
Hi, I'm Shelly Randazzo, and I've been a nurse for about 18 years. So I wanted to follow the EMS guide. Okay. Hi, I'm Shelly Randazzo. I've been a nurse for about 18 years. I love nursing, love healthcare. I found out about this project not very long ago, or I would have wrote a thesis about this. So I asked one that you have an open forum to allow someone like me to really address what my main concerns are. But there's no infrastructure for this from a healthcare standpoint. I have a doctorate in nursing, I know a lot about this stuff, and I am super concerned. And so I do ask that you just allow an open forum, because there's more than just me that want to talk about healthcare, firefighting, things like that, because I am totally against this. And I really, really hope you guys dedicate a complete meeting to people being able to stand up and say the truth.
Hi, and thanks for the opportunity. My name is Ingrid Weimott, a local resident for nearly 20 years. I live in the Goat Peak Ranch area. And I just want to tail on with what the last couple of clinical people said. So a nurse for more than 18 years, but that's not the point. But what I want to ask is, where's the payoff in this? Who benefits from this? Who's at risk? Where are the forums to talk about it? And why is it so late notice to the community? Yeah. So to me, those are huge red flags and of grave concern, because if this was fair and open and honest, we would all know about it. Everybody would have their say, and it would follow kind of a more ethical process, not what appears to be a backdoor process. And again, I think there are a lot of people that have more and better statements about the details and the codes and all that. But this is impacting the people that live here for safety, EMS, fire. What do we hear about every day in the news? Fire, fire, fire. We're on the verge of being the next paradise, right? How many people here in the fire service or live and fight for this every day? How many people hear about all the crisis and shortage in nursing and healthcare and doctors every day? If this goes on, we're just going to be another story in the news. This place where we live is just as important to the people voting on this as it is to the people who don't get to vote. So I'm begging you to let us hear, why would the elected officials agree to this? How is this benefiting our community? Where's the payoff? If it's not a fair process, where's the payoff? Where's this coming from? Who benefits, who suffers? And why is the original proposal being kind of hidden, pushed aside, buried? Why was the new proposal accepted? Why wouldn't that have been shut down in lightning speed from the city council, from those of you who have just as much at stake here as we do? So please, let us put together a list of questions that needs to be answered for all of us, not just for a few. And for those of us who live here and want to see the growth be healthy and very supported by fire, EMS, healthcare, water, 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 water. How many wells are going dry? How many people do you know where a well's gone dry? We have limited resources. Please hear what's on our hearts today, and know that if this collapses on itself, the nurses and firefighters and EMS personnel, they won't be able to come to any calls. Our roads will be blocked. People will quit their jobs from stress. You hear about it in every hospital out there right now. So a lot of you kind of want to look away when we're talking, but this is a precious, precious opportunity to to do the right thing for this community. Thank you. Good job.
Good evening. Thank you, City Council Mayor. I bust up my notes in really big font so I can see it. Kidding. That's awesome. And put the glasses on. All right, I'm not going to talk about all the codes. Larry did a great job about that. My name is Don Jones. My wife and I are local residents, and we've lived here for several years. But the 47-degree north project is passed. The negative impact that we'll have on the city of Elum and Kittitas County will be felt for decades to come. I urge each and every one of you to make the right decision based on the facts that are presented by the thousands of pages of documents and by the citizens here tonight. The 47-degree north project doesn't have the best interest of the city of Elum, Kittitas County, or the citizens that reside in this beautiful area in mind. I don't think anyone here is against expansion and growth, but the growth needs to be organic and needs to occur over years. If this project passes, the population of Elum, South Elum, and Roslyn will more than double in a short amount of time. My question for you tonight is, how will the city handle the increase in population? What about law enforcement, EMS, fire, schools? I currently work in law enforcement. I've done so for 20 years, over 20 years in a major city. I can speak firsthand on the negative impacts of rapid population growth in cities without having adequate police staffing and fire. The increase in calls for service police alone will be dramatic. And I don't think anybody's denying that. And if they're going to other calls, who's going to respond to help you when you call? Because they're going to be tied up. We all know that on any given night, I mean, on a good night in Cleveland, what do we have? 2 officers working? Most of the time, 1. I mean, that's just the reality of a small town. Who's paying for the increase in law enforcement? And more importantly, how are you going to get them here? I mean, Cleveland's a small town. It doesn't pay a lot, right? So other agencies pay a lot more money. So it's hard to recruit people to these towns. That's just reality, and that's occurring across the country. Some communities has no stake in the game. It's just a money grab by an out-of-state corporation. And if and when this project fails, who's going to be left picking up the pieces? It's going to be the citizens of this town and the city, not some communities. I urge each and one of you to vote no and do the right thing and vote no on this amendment. Thank you.
My name is Greg Hires. I'm a fairly resident in this community. I live at 433 Dakota Heights Drive, 14-unit development outside of South Cleveland. Anyway, I have come to appreciate this community. There's a lot of good things that have happened. I appreciate so many things that are in place. And I have taken a little bit of time to catch up to reports that you have received about impact by concerned agencies in this community or in the county-wide community. And I urge you to say no to this development, to reject that. Thank you.
Gentlemen, ladies, is this as loud as this thing gets? It doesn't have to fire in the room. Doesn't have to fire. Okay. Oh, I can take my mask off? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh. The Honorable Mayor, Jay McGowan, the Honorable Council, I think you guys are confronted with a big decision. And I think it's not really going to be that big when you finally get down to.
You have a name?
Yeah, my name is Rick Spence. I thought most of you knew me, so. My name is Rick Spence. I live at 800 Watson Cutoff Road. And I've been here about 13 years. And this development is just wrong. The original plan was a fee simple plan that permitted the organization, the houses to grow at a pretty constant rate and supply jobs and taxes. This plan here is just the wrong, it's the wrong plan for the wrong community. And I think sticking to the original plan is what the council ought to do for various reasons. One is the tax base is horrible in this. I don't know if you know, but a mobile home cycles like 3 times in 60 years in its longevity. It's,
Yeah, correct.
they said the mobile home cycles 3 times in 60 years. And they're not built with the finest material. It doesn't mean they're wrong for every application, but they're certainly wrong for this application. The resources that are available today are the resources that are going to be available then. And the law and justice is going to be in trouble. Hospitals are going to be in trouble. Fire is going to be in trouble. The impact is going to be horrendous. And if it's, I mean, you guys are at the last bastion between this development and disaster. And it's very real and it's very confronting. I would hope you make the right decision and vote your conscience and realize that this is not the right development for this community. Thank you much.
Okay, so when you're speaking in there, the closer you get to jarbled it is on Zoom. So this is only for Zoomers. But you could project.
I have a copy for everybody.
I can take one to the clerk.
Okay. I'm going to take the sign, the hand sign one. To the clerk.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm not allowed to hand out copies. to
Yeah.
you guys.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Perfect.
Go for it.
Thank you.
Here.
Save it for yourself.
Good. Thanks.
So, do you want me to leave that mic right there?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Christine Frankenfield and I'm a Roslyn resident. I live at 317 South 2nd Street in Roslyn. And this project means a lot to me because I moved to this area intentionally from a large area, from a large city 21 years ago. And so to see it just kind of go boom and blow up all at once super fast kind of got me a little panicked. But so this letter, I'm going to read the letter to you. It just makes it easier for me to publicly speak. I'm writing to convey my strong opposition to the proposed amendment for the Sun Community's 47 degrees north proposal for the property of Bullfrog. I understand that the proposed amendment would replace the original agreement for a residential home development with a manufactured home community on leased land and a large RV resort. While I also understand that change and growth is inevitable, I'm deeply concerned by the manner in which the city is considering allowing this growth to occur. The amended proposal for the manufactured homes sitting on leased land and an RV community at the Bullfrog site would create a transient population that have no invested interest or financial commitment to the existing UKC community. This disregards a fundamental requirement of the current zoning for the property, which is to remain in character with the city of Cle Elum and the Kittitas Valley. The RV resort would be the largest in the state and would not reflect a natural extension of the city as originally envisioned and required by the city zoning and current land use approvals. While we are an area with high tourism, we are a community here who know each other, who care for each other and our surroundings, and we provide for each other when we're in need. Travelers, transients, and residents without roots or ownership do not fit the character of Kittitas Valley, at least not to the extent of doubling the population. The manufactured homes will not sit on property that can be purchased and sold subject to property taxes like the rest of the lots in UKC as originally envisioned for the site, but rather owned and managed by the Sun Communities Corporation and taxed at a reduced single parcel rate. This reduction in taxes greatly reduces the income projected by the originally proposed residential community of individually owned homes and leaves a huge gap to fill in costs necessary to cover the impact this new population will have on UKC. If this proposed amendment is approved, we, the residents of Cle Elum, South Cle Elum, Roslyn, and Ronald, will be stuck subsidizing the private resort business at Bullfrog Flats. Based on the environmental reports for the project, all major intersections and roads in UKC will suffer major congestion and failing levels of service if significant road expansions and upgrades are not conducted. The developer is not proposing to mitigate for the increased traffic by expanding or upgrading any existing roads or intersections. The small fee they have proposed to pay the city may not fall in line with the actual costs for road improvements, and there is no state-funded project on the books to cover the expenses either. We current residents will suffer the expense of the failing roads. Also, based on the environmental reports for this project, in order to provide an adequate level of service to include our increased population, we will need an extension to the schools, many more police officers, an extension to KVH to include plenty of paramedics, EMTs, physicians, ambulance, a new dispatcher, and our solid waste facility would need to be expanded. The developer is not proposing to fund or participate in any capital improvements, equipment, or staffing costs associated with providing services to the increased population, and the fiscal analysis of the environmental reports for the amended proposal show that the private resorts tax base will be far less than what is needed to cover the cost of these new services. Allowing this amended proposal to pass without holding the developer responsible to correct these major issues they will create will have a disastrous effect on the quality of life, service providers, services, and taxes of all of UKC. Unless the city of Cle Elum has the guaranteed means to mitigate the issues that Sun Communities is not paying for, they must deny the amended proposal. Denial of the Sun Communities proposal would not take away or reduce the underlying property rights. The original underlying zoning approval would still allow development of this site, just not as a private resort / RV / manufactured home community. It is for all of these reasons that I respectfully urge the city to deny this proposed major amendment and retain the current approved land use for the property. And again, I'm a Roslyn resident, 16 Frankenfield, 317 South 2nd Street.
How about you guys over there? Come on. There must be someone. Nah, be quiet over there.
Good evening, honorable mayor and council members. I just learned about this, so I have not prepared a spiel and I can be very wordy. So I've listened to everyone though. I've listened to everyone with the facts and they've all.
Need a name.
Oh, I'm Marlene Drew. I live at 321 Shaft Street in Roslyn. And everyone here has so eloquently given you all the facts. And so I'm just going to speak to the heart of the matter. And if this is my only chance to address you before you make a decision that will impact all of our lives, mine and everyone else's, in a huge way, I'm just going to say, we don't want to live in Issaquah East. We're all here because we don't want that. We've been here 30 years, you know, and the small town is what brought us here, and the way we all interact with each other. I mean, I'm thinking about when we had the fire a few years ago and there was the 4 o'clock parade every single night by the Roslyn residents when the shift change came through, you know, the cookies being handed out, and that's the kind of community we are. And I just hate the fact that that could be taken away from us, and we would have absolutely no say-so. So this is my one chance to have that say-so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I could cobalt, but it wouldn't last long. My name is Kathleen Steiner Eager. I live at 301 North Montgomery, which is going to become our new freeway soon. And I think one of the things that I did today is I wanted to see what the original proposal from Trend West was and how it compared to what this would be. And I wanted to come here to address the mayor and the council because it seems like the use of this property where Trend West had everything nailed down to the toothpicks about what would happen if there was default. They would pay for what had to be paid for to get things back to where Cle Elum was before this development began. that they would pay for upgrades to support the roads and several other things in the area. That things were open to stick-built houses for individual houses that would be 5 to 7 units per acre. The multifamily dwellings were supposed to be townhouses that were stick-built, not the kind of dwelling that is proposed by this. There was no reference to RV attachments, and the 50 units that were supposed to be for low income were still going to be there, but they weren't going to be put up a hill, as Larry says. I guess that's where the bleacher section is supposed to be for those homes. The business park would be reduced considerably. Where things would be and have access to transportation into and out, egress and ingress, I guess that's what you're saying, are not anything that what we have can support at this particular point in the game. So what you're asking, or what is proposed to let happen, is that the people who live here will pay for everything in perpetuity to maintain this, because you're not going to be getting the tax base that you possibly thought you might. You're going to be getting the taxes going to who actually own the land, which are people out of state who don't frankly give a damn. I'll be nice in my speech. Do not give a damn about what happens to this community. How did they find out that this was available? The agreement was supposed to be 15 years beyond the 2 years that was originally given to Trend West to get this started. Why didn't it start? What happened? Was it because of transferring the land about 4 or 5 times the development to other people? What happened? Why is this under the mandate of that agreement? This has to come in as a modification, but it's a totally different proposal, less classy, less appropriate, which would create an area of instant low income because people have no pride in things that they don't own, or at least have some say in. And when these are controlled by other people, the people coming don't have to worry about, oh, well, we'll make a little bit here, we'll make a little this there. It won't matter because we don't own it and somebody else is paying for it. Well, that somebody else is us. And I respectfully ask that you please decline this. It should never have gotten this far. Thank you. Thanks.
Hi, Drew. I live 321 Shaft Street. Been here about close to 30 years. I'm actually just learning about this too. Pull mask down. Very little information has been sent out to the public. I remember Cincadia, the high school gymnasium was filled with people wanting to work on what was going to take place, how the infrastructure was going to work. Everything was going to come together. Negotiations went on for what, 5 years on that thing. And what we've got here, like a room that has maybe 100 people in it, half of them are outside. I think this is a poor example of city coming in and planning something that's going to impact everybody in the community. So I really think that if I'm just learning about this now, how many more people are out there that don't have any of the facts? Just a quick recap on using Cincadia as an example. Right now, the facts are there's 40 full-time residents in Cincadia.
No.
That's what I just read right there. It's probably higher than that now. This was 2017. That's all I can find. But at any rate, we're talking, this is not a vacation setting. This is, from what I understand, this is a saturation bill. Clear the trees, clear the land, make it easy to build, set the homes. It's not going to be pretty. And these are homes that are going to be for people to live in full time. So if we have 3 to 4 people in 600 homes, you know, we're looking at what, 2,400 people that could be full-time residents if they have kids that are going to go to school. Infrastructure needs to be planned before a development, needs to start before the development starts so that you can plan for the growth. The 2-lane roads that we have that surround that thing need to be you need to start making it 4-lane roads now. Who's paying for that? The school needs to be expanded, needs to start now. You're going to bring that kind of crowd of people in. You've got to start the planning right now. It has to be done before the people get here, not, oh, okay, well, now that we have all these people here, let's try to expand something. That's where the frustration comes. So I'm just urging everyone just kind of look at this, and especially the city here, to really look at the planning of this thing. And just, I don't see any of the planning coming together. I see everyone talking about what we need, but I don't see any master plan of what it's supposed to look like and how it's going to come together that makes me feel better about the development. Thank you.
Hello, Mayor, City Council. My name is Alicia Schmenke. I live in Roslyn, 106 East Idaho Avenue. I am also a business owner in Roslyn. I am also the secretary of RPM Rescue. Again, like a lot of these other people that have said, you know, didn't really know much about what was going on. It's all a little bit shock to the system, and talking quick points about what other people mentioned as far as like the tax revenue that would be coming in from this, how minimal it would be, and how strained our resources are. You know, I know as a business owner in town, I mean, over this last year, we've seen an explosion in tourism here. It's kind of at our breaking point. We don't have the facilities. We don't even have the bathroom facilities in Roslyn to handle the amount of tourists that come in. We want to bring more people in. We don't have the infrastructure for that. My big thing that scares me is fire. You know, after the Jolly Mountain fire, you know, every year, and even this year, you know, as soon as spring hits, as soon as we had that heat wave, you know, I told my husband, it's time to get our go bags ready, and we keep them by the door. You know, you're talking about putting in a huge amount of people at the escape route for everybody at the lake. We are run, you know, we're a nonprofit. We run on funds and donations. We have a network of families and foster families that help us out. You know, every year, you know, in the spring, we start looking at rallying our volunteers and people that have big animal trailers and things, because this is a rural area. There's a lot of livestock. You know, we want to help people be able to get their animals out safely if there are fires. You know, we're strictly volunteer based. You know, the money that we get from the city of Cle Elum, for instance, or 1 or 2 animals that we take from the city of Cle Elum a year, and we take animals all the time. And that's thanks, you know, we're able to do that thanks to all the generous donations from the surrounding community. But again, you know, my biggest fear is fire. You know, if I have family that lost their homes in Paradise, I have family that lost their homes in Santa Rosa. those manufactured homes, which was a lot of type of those kind of homes that were in those areas, they are tinder boxes. They burn so fast. And I just really ask you to look at this, consider all the options, and also think about the quality and safety of those that already live here. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Terry Jerky. I live on Lower Pale Point Road, and me and my wife own Winning Foundations on First Street. And I think this has to do with what's going on with the population. We have a lot of traffic problems coming down the hill from Safeway. The other day, a truck cut the corner quick, took a pole out, kept going. And I just wish the city would think about how we're going to slow down those trucks. Every week, my wife sits there and sees a truck blow the yellow light and blowing its horn to make it through. And I just don't, we don't need anybody killed on that point. And I'm just concerned about the traffic, and this new proposal will just bring more traffic. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor, Honorable Council, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Eliza Stevenson. I'm a realtor. I've been here, bought the property in 1982 with Betty, and we, for 11 years, owned the Parlor Car Bistro. There's a couple of issues that I, as a realtor, as a broker, here, am concerned with affordable housing. So a lot was said early on that 47 Degrees North was bringing in affordable housing. And then with the recent rewrite of their proposal, that affordable housing tag was left off. So, and they, because so many people became aware that this truly is not affordable housing. The only people that are going to be making money off this big proposal is Sun Communities. Very little is going to be a stepping stone. It won't be a ladder process for anyone buying any manufactured home in this area that can sell the home at a profit and make money on it in order to get a better place. The only place you're going to be losing money if you buy one of these manufactured homes, because the value of the manufactured home will go down, but more likely than not, the land lease will go up. Therefore, there is a losing proposition on anyone that buys any one of these manufactured homes. As a broker and a realtor, it's my creed to help protect home ownership. And this is not one of those things that's going to help anyone improve their life and be able to go up the ladder from renting anything, which we're at a dead standstill right now, finding rentals for anyone in the service industry. Everybody that has a business knows this firsthand. So I urge everyone to reconsider this proposal. Thank you.
My name is Barbara Wilcox. I live at 1381 Lambert Road. We've been here 6-7 years now. And everything everybody has said about what's going to happen to us, we're just going to, it's ridiculous. I've been angry tourist season, which is all year long around here. I like, but I don't like. Have y'all, after you have a nice big event around here, Safeway runs out of food. If you're going to double the population, what's the next grocery store going to go in? Because Safeway is going to be buried alive. And in the wintertime, If we get heavy snows, we can't get food in, what's gonna happen? You know, I agree with the fire, the roads, everything, but I like to feed my family and I like to be able to help other people to be able to eat too. I donate a lot to the community, and if it's twice the size, my pockets aren't that deep. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Chapman. I'm at 281 Rocking Chair Road, Clay, Elum. Looking forward, earlier councils were formally directed to evaluate they wanted to see as a vision and use for the Bullfrog Flats property. That would include economic development, uses, and ability to contribute positively to the community at large. Has this review been done or formally reviewed, and does the 47 North meet the vision and anticipated outcomes? I would doubt this concept was one the city would have anticipated. You know the stresses of a development like this will put on an already growing community. The city has worked hard to be able to move forward and to make their community more meaningful over time. You have to ask if this development is a benefit to the community or a burden, and at what cost. The council has the obligation to consider a no action vote in this process, and a no action vote or a no vote is recommended by many. Thank you very much.
Well, Rob, how about we see what comments people have that are online? You could kind of start at the top of the list and see what they have to say. Maybe, I know it's hard to see, but maybe you could check with, looks like Kathy Cook.
Sure.
And start going down the list, see what you come up with.
So this is to all the Zoomers that are out there. There's quite a few, 38 participants. Let's go down the list. Kathy Cook.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just, Kathy Cook, I live at 402 East Idaho in Roslyn. I'm super concerned about this project going forward. The amendment is builds a community that was not envisioned in the first Trend West subdivision proposal many years ago. And it will actually, for those of us in Roslyn and up the lake, it will put us at total gridlock if it's built out in the way that it's being proposed. Huge problem just in general, but also if we unfortunately have to leave during a fire, that would put us at risk. And also I'm just really concerned that the way that this development is structured currently would not provide the amount of tax revenue that the original subdivision that was approved would have brought us. And it does not bring us enough money to actually mitigate the impacts of the development. Anyhow, those are my comments, and I would really urge you to not allow this development to go any further. Thank you.
Hey, going down the list here, Thomas. It looks like Thomas is next. If you have a comment. How about Kristen?
Give them a little bit of time. Sometimes they're looking for the right button. That would be me on the computer, you know, to talk.
All right.
Yeah.
Thomas. Thomas and or Kristen. We'll do it by twos. Either two could speak if you like.
I'll go ahead. You know, they They can always pipe in. but-
They can always pipe back in later. You're right. Okay, there's a Lucy T. Does that person want to speak?
Oh, I'll save my comments for a future meeting, but thank you. It's been entertaining.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucy T. Tad Brockway.
Hey, there he is.
Oh, is this
Hang on.
Tad?
Hold on, are you Tad?
I'm Tad.
Okay, Tad, we see you up there.
They were listening on Zoom outside so they could hear.
Okay, good. Great. Okay, we got Tad here.
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't actually plan to speak, but since you asked.
Address the crowd. The speaker was only for the Zoom.
Okay.
Only for the Zoom. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't plan.
Address your name, your address.
My name's Tad Brockway. I live at 1671 Upper Pia Point Road. This is my first exposure to community activism. I'm not an activist. I've never worn a sticker like this, but
it's on your back, you know.
But I've got to say the quality of just what everyone has said and the analysis of this proposal is just stunning to me. What a great job everyone has done in such a short period of time. And the reason I'm here is because I love this community. I just love this place. I really do. And I don't understand it. I'm confused by the mystery of this whole process because it feels, and that's why I'm here. I learned about this. I read a little bit about it. I think Larry's the ringleader here. Yeah, Larry has done a great job of analyzing this project. And there's nothing that I've heard and there's nothing that I've read about this project that seems logical. It seems wise. It seems like it would be good for the community. And I bet as council members and as the mayor that you're all wise, reasonable, logical people. So there must be some mysterious reason that I'd like to learn about as to why this project has been allowed to go as far as it has. And so I'm just here because I'm curious and concerned like all of you. And if you decide to allow this project to proceed, I hope that we can all work as a community to make sure it doesn't actually happen. So would love to, I don't know whatever constraints you're under because it's mysterious, right? But if there are constraints that you're not able to talk about in this forum, and for some reason you feel compelled, like you must allow this to proceed, I would be very eager to participate in working together to make it stop. So anyway, thank you all. Thank you, Larry.
Okay, moving right along, Bill Rayfool. Bill. Then there's just a phone number. Oh, Bill looked like, go ahead, Bill. It looks like you unmuted yourself. Go, try it again.
Just wanted to say no comment at this time.
Thanks. Okay. Thanks, Bill. Okay, we're moving along. Looks like there's a phone number that I do recognize. I don't think, William, do you want to make any comment? Probably no.
No comments, Rob.
Yep. Okay. Then there's an iPhone. It just says iPhone. So I don't know. I don't think it's a name of somebody. That would be weird.
Apple wants to talk to us.
Apple, Mr. Okay. And things are shifting around. So if I miss somebody, you know, please just speak up. Mindy's next. Are you there? Want to speak? Okay. Oh, there's, go ahead, Scoop's phone. Go ahead.
So actually, this is my wife's phone. So sorry about that.
I think the only question I'd like to ask, I've heard so many great comments from so many different people. I haven't heard anybody yet say that they're interested in this moving forward. And there's lots of people that have come, and maybe there are a lot of people who are interested in this, but I haven't heard a word from anybody yet saying that this is a good thing. And I'm wondering why the city council, by the way, I should start. This is Michael Sandsmark. I'm at 40 Columbine. I guess I'm trying to understand why we're doing this if so many people are seem to be so against it. That would be an interesting comment that I think we'd probably all like to hear about at some point in the future. If this goes forward, I haven't heard anybody say it's a great idea. So I'm trying to figure out why it is that we're actually doing it. I think that's my only comment. Thank you for letting me have a few moments to chat. Thank you.
Okay. Mayor, I'm just keep going. Is that fine? You let me know if I'm.
Carry on.
Okay, Chris is next. Chris?
I've already spoken. Thank you.
Oh, good, thanks. Okay, Fred, looks like you're ready to go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members, and all of the great people of Cle Elum and Upper County. We are a property owner, and we built our home in Suncadia 15 years ago at 461 Larkspur. I just want to get some facts out there because I think everyone needs to read the original approval of this property by the city. And just a couple of things jump out at me. First of all, there was only going to be 150 spots for trailers and RV spots for workers, and that was going to be temporary. Now we're talking about over 600. Where are we going to park all those RVs when they go to Roslyn and Cle Elum to shop? You put a couple of 40-footers out there and it's going to take up a lot of space. The other thing is, in January, the city passed an ordinance that disallows anyone in Cle Elum from parking a trailer in their driveway and occupying it. You can't camp in Cle Elum. So I guess we're discriminating against all of the owners in Cle Elum that have been there for years, and to benefit this out-of-state company that wants to make money, and they want to park 600 and some odd RVs on the property. That's amazing. Let's compare what Suncadia is now to the number of units that might happen at 47 degrees. Hopefully it won't. Currently, there's over 1,700 individual properties owned by individuals in Suncadia and Tumble Creek, of which over 1,330 are residential properties, homes, condos, townhomes, of which 255 are condos, and over 1,100 are single-family homes. And currently we have we don't have a hard count on this, but we have about 400 full-time residents. But if you take the population of Suncadia on a weekend, any given weekend, that's what you're going to be adding to the city of Cle Elum just for the 47 degree north property. Is it great? No, it's not. Let's go back to the original phase 5 proposal. And I'd like to know why it is that Cle Elum doesn't have mitigation fees all called out for all of these developments coming on board, so that the schools, roads, parks, and all of the city entities, fire, police, are not funded before everybody arrives. It's just amazing that the west side cities have already figured that out, and we haven't in Cle Elum. I'm not criticizing the council, but you need to get up to speed with taking care of the mitigation costs for all these people that are going to be on your back porch here shortly if you approve this. I am not for it. Many people at Suncadia are not for it. And I know that the people of Cle Elum, Roslyn, South Cle Elum are not for this. This is an out-of-state company. And as Eliza said, there's no one that's going to make any money living here. They are going to be buying and paying for an out-of-state manufactured modular home. set on a foundation, which they're not going to own the property. Everything about this is negative. There's no positives for having this many people come into the city all at once. Even over 10 years, it's an awful large population that's going to be arriving here. So I can go on, but I'm going to try to have all of my thoughts in writing, and I'll give you lots of facts this week before Friday at 4 p.m. I do appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Fred.
Last
Here we
name.
go.
Madison.
Okay.
Mattiso.
Okay. Michelle Martin, is that you? Would you like to speak? Yeah.
Yeah, nothing to add. This is James and Michelle Martin. Nothing to add to the excellent, respectful comments made speaking against this development.
Okay, thank you. Dave, go ahead.
This is Dave Anderson. My wife and I, Carol and I, are 14-year residents of Elum. We're at 121 Hardscrabble Lane. I have some experience with development in North Bend and also the city of Issaquah. And so it's interesting for me to see what's going on here. I have a lot of agreement with some of the concerns I've heard about traffic, fire, schools, etc. But one thing I haven't heard is wildlife. So I'm concerned that the plan that is shown on the maps that we have doesn't really have any wildlife corridors in it. Wildlife is very important to us, you know, elk and deer, but we also have not only coyotes, but we have wolves, and actually there's been some moose around once in a while. Many of you don't believe that, but it's really been here. And so I'm concerned about that as well. I saw in part of the plan, a elk population is showed spots of where some of the elks were located, but it really didn't address the migration corridors. And I'd like to make sure that that is concerned as well. We're very concerned about groceries. Groceries. I wish we had more than one grocery store, and that would be another very important thing to be included if something like this goes forward. That's all I've got to say.
Okay, thanks. Let's go to Doug. Can you unmute yourself again there? You have to, there we go. I'll ask you to unmute. Perfect.
Hello, this is Doug Kilgore. I live at 145 North 5th Street here in Roslyn. I think that the city should reject this application and consider that in the alternative, you may be flushing away whatever limited protections you have from the original development agreement and the other protections for long-term infrastructure cost sharing. I concur with all the comments of public citizens, of the public about police protection, fire safety, increased population, and just failure to go along with the original agreement. Nobody's going to profit from this that lives around here. Very well said. So I'll make other comments later, but thank you for holding this meeting and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Okay, thanks, Doug. JP, are you there? Would you like to comment? Sarah Peters.
Hi, my name is Sarah Peters and I'm at 260 Pine Glen Drive. Thank you everybody for coming out and commenting, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to comment. I concur with Ms.
Let's get some box down, Marco.
Sorry, everybody. I'm hearing some noise, and I think I muted Sarah. Sorry. Can you start over? There you go.
You bet. Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity, and like Mr. Anderson commented, I feel compelled to speak for the wildlife who don't have the ability to speak on their own behalf. And, you know, the elk population, all local people know they love to roam Bullfrog and up through the cemetery and through the high school. And, you know, I just feel like we can't overlook our wildlife and how important that is to the holistic nature of our entire community as a whole. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Sarah. Laurel Bell, would you like to comment?
You know, I don't have any prepared comments. I just echo what everybody else has said and, you know, strongly disagree with this proposal and would hope that the mayor and the council would do the right thing and deny it. Thanks.
Thank you. David and Kathy, it looks like. If you don't need to speak, you don't have to.
Rob, did you skip JP's phone?
Well, I did JP's phone before and it just jumped around on us. So JP, obviously, you bet if you want to comment, please do so. Or David and Kathy, anyone. Okay, there's DP is next. DP. Gary Smith.
Gary Smith.
Smith.
Yeah, you know, thanks for having me on also. My biggest concern, you know, everybody's, you know, talked about this in an elegant way, and I agree wholeheartedly. Our infrastructure really can't handle it. But one of my biggest biffs is, you know, we got big money coming in and purchasing up all of our water rights, where myself, I've got some acreage that I can't even get water rights on because we're in the red zone. And how, you know, big business can come in and just, you know, gobble up all the water is beyond me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And things are jumping around. So if I miss somebody, you know, we'll be able to, at the very end of all of this list, we will definitely have anybody else that needs to comment. Holly Robbins.
Hi there. I'm here with my husband, David Knirk, and we live at 422 2nd Street in Roslyn. And again, like a handful of other people don't have prepared comments, but we share the same sentiments that everyone has voiced today in opposition of the amendment for 47 North. And I think our most of our concerns have been covered, but a big concern for us is I think that affordable housing around here, especially the opportunity at home ownership, is becoming harder and harder for you know, normal people. And we ran into that when we were looking for a home, and we had issues finding a place to rent, and also finding a home to buy. And we were lucky. We finally found something off market. I'll spare everyone the details, but you know, the biggest issue I think that we see with this amendment is the true opportunity for more single family housing in the area that is affordable versus something that ultimately is owned by Sun Communities. So yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for the opportunity to share.
Great, thanks, Holly. Let's see, Donna McCaslin, I think we're there.
Donna or David? David, okay. No, Donna. Boy, things are really jumping around. Sorry. How about Nikki Jeffries? Jeff? Okay.
I'm just listening tonight. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. It looks like on this page, I'm still looking at the first page. Sharon jumped in on this page. Is there, would she like to comment? You're actually not muted, so.
No, thank you.
Thank you. I think we're going to go to page 2. Thomas. Oh, it seems like we've already been up there, so we're going to skip down to Bill Rafflul. Oh, nope, that's also another one. I'm going down the list. David Anderson, perhaps? I haven't called on you yet.
Yes, you have. And I made a comment. I really appreciate it. Let me suggest that you ask other people that want to speak to put a note in the chat, and then you only call on people who have told you that they want to speak.
Okay, that's a good idea. Also, you could raise your hand on the in the little box there. You could raise your hand. I do want to ask if there's anybody else. Let's see, Dennis Connors. TMM. Laura Carpenter. I'm not seeing anybody in the chat. Oh, go ahead, Laura.
This is Laura, and I am a longtime resident of Kittitas County, and I would just like to say that everybody already spoke to most of my concerns so eloquently, and I have no prepared comments, but I am in great opposition to anything that this proposal is offering, and it would do nothing for our community. So I just am saying, please say no. And that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, I think I've asked everybody, but we could wait a few more minutes. There's nobody else in chat. Nobody's raising their hand, but if anybody would like to comment additionally, please raise your hand or chat.
David and Kathy, hand up.
Yep. It looks like David. Go ahead.
Hi there. This is David Gusdorf, and representing my wife, Catherine, and myself. And we are recent lot owners in Suncadia, and we're just about to start building before the end of the year. And we oppose this project. We recently learned about it. It appears to be very high density with a total lack of infrastructure, as has been stated this evening. And so that's a big concern for us. It seems there's quite a bit of congestion that the area has to handle on weekends with all the visitors. And this appears to be a project that would impose that congestion on a daily basis and even get worse on weekends. So we oppose it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, David. Again, anybody else in the Zoom world here?
Rob, we have someone at the podium would like to speak. We'll pause the internet for a minute, okay? Can you hear me, Rob?
Oh, yes, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Mike Melby. 7303 Upper Peel Point Road. I bought the property and farm up there in 2006. Well, thank you for letting me have a chance to speak. I've never been to a city council meeting here before. And I've heard everybody's statements about the 47 degree north, I think. I just learned about it not in the last week. And I was, I guess I really, all the things, the fire, the police, roads on Upper Peel Point Road, when the freeway stops, well, then what a crazy. But and that's changed in the last 4 years. I just wanted to kind of ask, I guess, the council, what do you say about it? Why we have this meeting? What's the process?
This is a regular council meeting.
Yes.
These comments that are coming tonight, this is not the time for us to even discuss this right now. We're here to listen to what you have to say.
Oh, I see.
Okay? There is a process that you'll hear more about. There will be other meetings to make comments. And so tonight, everyone decided to speak to us under citizen comments. And that's what we're here to listen to your comments.
Well, I heard what everybody says about the fire and the police and the roads and all that. One thing that didn't get brought up a lot, I did hear it a few times, about the garbage and about when they start putting. Speak to you.
To these guys.
When they start, when we have that many more people and the transfer station that we have here now, it'll start ending up in the woods. And I go snow. One of the reasons why I moved to this wonderful, beautiful paradise city of Elum was for snowmobiling and for the backcountry.
We have mandatory garbage pickup in the city of Cleveland. You don't have that. You're in the county.
You're right. Well, they have. Is that
save
the
your comments?
Anyway, well, okay, well, that's one of the things that I see. I came from the west side, and that's one of the things. I lived in the country on the west side. I didn't have mandatory garbage pickup there either, but the people from the city seem to dump it out in the woods. And I hope it doesn't get overpopulated. I appreciate you having tonight, and I will appreciate hearing about what's going to come of this. I don't understand the original proposal everybody's talked about, and it has changed.
There's a process to change it, and we're in that process right now. That's why we're listening.
We don't want to change it.
Hey, Rob, did you hear anybody else? Is there anyone else out there?
There's nobody else that is in the chat and nobody's raising their hand. I think we're done with the Zoomers.
Okay, the Zoomers are done. So how about anyone here? Anyone else?
We have the second shift coming in here.
Okay. Yeah, that's all right.
Evan Watson, 1709 Marion Drive here in Elum. I worked seasonally for a long time, lived and worked in a lot of mountain towns around the country. Get to a point in my life where I'm ready to settle down. And I think I'd like to settle down here. And so the kind of housing that 47 degrees north is, kind of up my alley, but it really just seems like a dead end avenue, given that it wouldn't give me any independent ownership in the home. And it wouldn't provide any real financial security in the future. So for me, I agree with everything everybody else has spoken about here today, but the affordable housing is really the crux of the issue to me in this matter. So, thanks for your time.
Anybody outside?
Sure, with the popcorn coming out. Second shift was coming in.
There's nobody outside.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So we're going to end the citizen comment right now. And most of you know this is not church. You can stay or go. All right, we're going down to There's no public appearances. There's no business. Sorry. Well, actually, I'll tell you what, I would say that probably we as a council should take maybe a 5-minute break so that some of us can go to the bathroom.
That's me.
All right, so we'll be back at 7:45, you guys.
Just keeping everybody honest, 5 minutes.
What you need to do, Larry, is move into the city, and you can run for one of these seats.
We're just trying to hold you up.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Mayor now.
Well, see, you got me rushed.
Ken, I guess you're gonna take over.
Oh, I.
How did Steve- how did you spell popcorn?
Wasn't somebody left a message in opposition in the chat?
I'll declare it.
Can you apply to them, let them know they need to submit it in writing? If they want?
50 meals in a year.
Okay. Okay, I just don't want their comment not to get registered if they think that that's
The window will
doing
be,
it.
Jay, or the door being open.
It's open public meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, Beth's here. There won't be any sirens.
Oh, yes.
That's awesome. L&I. We're subject to L&I.
Yeah.
It's so quiet in here now.
You guys aren't.
Feels like it's old homework now.
Okay. Kathy, are you,
Okay.
can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, so it's about 8:10 and we're going to resume this meeting. So I wonder if we're down to unfinished business. And this is ordinance 1609.
Oh, thank you.
Greg Dorn, are you there after all this?
Yes, I am, Mayor. I just was trying to get it unmuted. I am.
Okay, can you walk us through ordinance 1609?
Certainly. Mayor, members of the council, can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Mayor, this is a continuation of an item that we have discussed in previous meetings. And in particular, at our last time we discussed it, the council indicated that they would like to have a recommendation from the Planning Commission on the proposed amendments to the city's code that would establish a hearings examiner system in the city. We took all 4 of the administrative chapters that we had shared with the council back to the Planning Commission and indicated that, as you had expressed in a previous meeting, that if it would help facilitate the review, that the chapter specifically relating to the hearings examiner could be separated from the other chapters. And the Planning Commission did in fact take advantage of that opportunity, and they have reviewed the chapter that would establish the hearings examiner, but the other 3 chapters they have held for further review, and will provide the council with recommendations at some point in the future. But with respect to the chapter that would establish the hearings examiner, the Planning Commission has reviewed that and is recommending to the City Council that that chapter now be adopted and be a part of the Cle Elum Municipal Code. So before you tonight, there is an ordinance that would repeal the current chapter that governs how land use permits are to be reviewed and processed in the city, and to replace it with the chapter that would fully create and establish the hearings examiner system. The most the changes in the document are really kind of fall within 2 categories, although I can certainly elaborate if the council would like. but it specifically identifies the types of permits that the hearings examiner would be involved in and the role that the hearings examiner would play, and that's spelled out in a table. So it's, I think, going to be a lot easier for all of us to use and administer, because it will be very clear as to, for each type of permit, what the review process is, what the steps are, who is the decision maker, and if there's a public hearing, who conducts the public hearing. So the significant changes are to the administrative permits and approvals, those things that are decided by city staff. Appeals of those decisions would go to the hearings examiner as opposed to the city council. And the rationale for that is, which is being repeated in cities and towns throughout the state, is that if there is an appeal of an administrative decision, the criteria for evaluating an appeal is whether the administrative decision was clearly erroneous and is in violation of city, state, or federal code. So a determination as to whether an administrative decision is clearly erroneous under the law is something that an attorney is best suited to make. And so that's why we are recommending that in the event that there is an appeal of an administrative decision, that those would go to the hearings examiner. So a person that is trained in the legal matters pertaining to land use permits can determine whether in fact the decision was consistent with or clearly erroneous under the law. The other category of changes has to do when public hearings are required. And the significant change there is that public hearings on any project-related activity, and such as a subdivision or such as a proposed modification to an approved planned mixed-use development, that public hearing would be conducted by the hearings examiner, who would then be responsible for preparing the findings of fact and conclusions of law. If it was a project that involved something.
Greg, hold on a minute.
Yes.
Ken has a question.
Yeah. Okay.
On pages 4 and 5, Greg, we have permit classifications type 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you refer to type 1, 2, 3, 4?
Yes, certainly. So types 1 and 2, those are administrative types of permits. So things like a building permit or a sign permit. Type 1 are relatively routine and straightforward permits. They're approved by the member of city staff, and there is no public review and comment period. Like I said, a building permit would be an example of one of those.
Great.
A type 2 permit is one where it's still administrative, but there is an opportunity for public comment and written comment. And what would happen is, when the city receives an application, a notice of application is sent out, and neighbors or interested parties would have an opportunity to submit written comments to the decision maker. So, and they would review those comments before making a decision. And in both of those cases, since they're both administrative decisions, if there is an appeal, it would go to the hearings examiner, who would determine whether it was within the law or was clearly erroneous or not. So those cover the first two. The category 3 or type 3 are applications that require a public hearing, and a subdivision would be an example of that. a straightforward subdivision, not a subdivision tied to a master plan development or anything, but just a simple, straightforward subdivision, if there is such a thing. The hearings examiner would conduct the hearing, and following the hearing would make a decision based on the record. And then if there is an appeal of that, that would go directly to Superior Court and would be, and the appeal would be dealt with by the courts. So that would streamline that process. And then finally, the category 4, which I think is the most important aspect of this, is that in the 4th category would be things like comprehensive plan amendments, revisions to the development regulations, amendments to the shoreline master program, those types of things that have traditionally been the focus of the Planning Commission and will remain the focus of the Planning Commission. And the Planning Commission will conduct the public hearings and will make recommendations to the City Council. The exception to that would be on things like the issue we're dealing with right now, proposed modifications to a master plan development, in which case the hearings examiner would conduct the hearing, but would make a recommendation to the City Council, and it would be the City Council's responsibility to make a decision whether, for instance, to modify an approved master plan, like we've just been hearing testimony on. That would remain your responsibility, Council, but the responsibility for conducting the public hearing and reviewing the staff report and reviewing the city codes and making the recommendation would ultimately fall to the Planning Commission, and I mean to the hearings examiner, and you then would make the final decision. So I think the comments you just received, which were excellent, is I think a very good example of why a hearings examiner can be so important in these types of proceedings, because they are trained to conduct public hearings. They are knowledgeable in the law and all the requirements of how to conduct those hearings within the context of the law, and they know how to prepare a recommendation that is formatted to the council so that there is a clear basis for making the decision, and to minimize the likelihood of an appeal or a successful appeal. So land use decisions are getting more and more complex by the day, which is why cities are moving to a hearings examiner system for the larger, more complex projects to make sure that the public hearings are conducted appropriately, that there is a second review of the staff recommendations, and that the City Council receives all the information necessary to be able to make your decision and to ensure that all voices are heard throughout the process. So Mayor, that 4th category is probably the area that's most significant and most timely, because it would ensure all of us that with the hearings examiner that the hearings would be conducted in a fair and impartial manner. So that's what those are the significant changes in it, and I can certainly answer any questions that the council might have, but the recommendation from staff and from the hearings examiner is to repeal the existing code, replace it with this chapter. I should add that Mr. Stauffer offered an amendment at the Planning Commission discussions, and that was accepted by the Planning Commission, and his recommended revision has been included in the document before you. So Mayor, members of the council, if you have any questions, I'll certainly do the best to to answer them. But otherwise, before you is the ordinance that would repeal and replace with the recommendations to establish the hearings examiner system.
Okay, Stephen, you have a question?
So any other things that are under current consideration or that have already been submitted to the city, what happens to them? Do they go from being however they were considered in the past within this 5 days of us passing that? Do they immediately go to the new process, or anything in process? Does it just continue the path that it already has, and anything new would then start the new process proposed here?
Yeah, with respect to existing applications, the only existing applications, with one exception, that would be affected at this, well, let me say it slightly different, is none of the existing applications under review would be affected by this, with one exception. They would be affected if there is subsequently an appeal, but we have no type 3 applications under review now. We have type 1s and type 2s. Those would, if there was an appeal, then they would go under the new system, but the processing of the permits would continue as we're doing right now. The exception to that would be the proposed major modifications to the approved development agreement for Bullfrog Flats, and that would fall under the new code if adopted, so that the city hearings examiner would conduct the public hearing and make the recommendation to the city council when the time comes for that to happen. We still have several steps to go through before we get to a point where we'd be ready for a public hearing. But when the time comes, the major modification of the Bullfrog Flats development agreement would be a type 4 application, and would be, the public hearing would be conducted by the hearings examiner.
So President, that public.
But it says
meeting.
planning commission.
Yeah.
There's a footnote in that table, and that footnote identifies that major modifications to develop and changes to development agreements. Those public hearings would be conducted by the hearings examiner. So if you scroll down, you'll see that footnote.
Under 5, it says the planning commission shall make a recommendation to the city council unless otherwise provided.
Yes, and then go to 6.
Only thing that has a 6 after it would go to 6. Greg, on 7, on the zoning code amendment, it says required public hearings would be the city council, planning commission, or the city hearing examiner. But I don't see in here how that's decided, which one it goes to. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, let me get the number 7 in front of me here. Let me just bear with me a minute so I can be looking right at that. So we've got let me see. That's not the one I want. I'm sorry, just let me bear with me again so I can get the
bottom.
Yeah. Here it is, Exhibit A. Okay. So we have under zoning code amendment, there's a 7. Okay, yeah. There are, this gives the council some choices or options as to how you'd like to have these processed. I mean, typically they would go to the planning commission, but if there were matters that you wanted to conduct the hearing yourself or assign it to the hearings examiner, you could. And the reason that we have that in there is, for instance, particularly in the case of the international building codes, when there are amendments to the building codes that need to be made, they end up being fairly technical, and they may be items that that the planning commission wouldn't necessarily have any knowledge or experience in. And so it may, council, if you wanted to conduct the hearing on that yourself, or refer it to a hearings examiner, you could. So the intent was there to give you some options, but typically the any changes to the development regulations or the comprehensive plan would be going to the planning commission. That goes to the heart of their knowledge and expertise.
I appreciate the ability to choose there, I guess. So my question is it stated, did I miss in here where it stated that then that's at the discretion of the city council? I just want to make sure that that's clear in here, because it wasn't.
I think we could, that was certainly the intent, and I think an amendment just asking that we make it clear that that's at the discretion of the city council would be appropriate.
I like that.
Yeah, because it was maybe conducted by.
Yeah,
So that's iffy.
I just want to make it clear who's making that decision, right? So there's clarity there.
Yeah.
Two other questions, if I could, unless I'm stepping on
Well,
anybody's.
hey, Leonard, anybody else want to comment on this
Well,
comment? Mickey, go ahead.
No, I'm just following
Okay,
along
all right.
with what he's saying.
All right, okay, go ahead.
The only other two questions, well, maybe three, but one, just a quick note on item 4, just up that list a little bit. It says the Washington State Growth Management Board. That should be Growth Management Hearings Board. I just want to make sure that we get the name of the body correct. So I guess my other two questions can be one question, which is when I was on the planning commission, we generally would submit a written
Finding of
fact to the council that says we, urge you to pass this, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't look like that was included here. But I guess the other question I have, which you kind of touched on already, is there's changes to this from the one that we saw however many weeks ago, but it's not clear to me what the changes are. And I'm curious if you can call out any changes that have been made in this document that have happened since it wasn't in that cover note.
Yeah, there was one change, and it was the change that was recommended by Mr. Stauffer, and I will just scroll down and remember. I believe let me just scroll down and I'll identify specifically where it is. Right. Okay, here, I think I'm getting closer now. Oh, yeah, here it is. It is it's on page 17. It is item C, and it is the sentence right before 17, 100, 130. So I'll wait a minute while you go to page 17. And what the recommended addition is that when the city is reviewing an application, determine if it is consistent with the comprehensive plan and with the municipal code. The addition says the city shall be allowed to exercise substantial discretion as it relates to non-technical issues in its attempt to advance the best interests of the community. That is based on some language that's in the current code, and Mr. Stauffer recommended that it be added to this code. And at the staff level, we thought that was appropriate, and the Planning Commission did as well and included it in their recommendation to you.
So would I be correct in assuming that a good example of that might be that the decision might have to do with whether whatever being proposed is in in keeping with the historical norms? That would be something where the city council would have wide latitude to make a decision based on that.
Yes, I think that's, I mean, as the council, that certainly you're elected to protect the best interests of the community and advance them. And so yes, in fulfilling that role, this just confirms that there is some discretion that is exercised as a part of the decision-making process.
Matthew, you two have a question?
I was just trying to help him clarify something. No question.
All right.
Greg, on the type 3 review, the city council is not involved in hearing, decision-making, or appeal.
You're off the hook.
Well, that isn't really a good thing either. Well, I'm not sure I like that, because, I mean, we get a 20-lot subdivision, the city council, the citizens can't talk to the city council about it at all.
Yeah, what would happen under those circumstances is that the planning commission and the city council would be setting the standards that apply, and then the hearings examiner would receive the staff report and then conduct a public hearing so that there would be an opportunity for additional comments, and then the examiner would make the decision, based on all the information provided. Since the city council isn't involved in a decision-making role, you would have some freedom that you don't have now in terms of being able to discuss projects with the community. So you don't have that restriction, and that may be informative as you would set future, as you set the standards or re-examine the standards or evaluate the standards. But it would be the responsibility of the hearings examiner to determine whether whether the proposal is consistent with the law as you've established it.
So could you repeat exactly what the city council could do on a type 3 review?
Yeah. So on the type 3 review, your role would be to set the standards and the requirements that have to be met, that what's in the code. You would establish that, and then the staff and the examiner would have the responsibility to determine if that is met. What you would be able to do is to receive comments and concerns, or positive comments, I guess, for that matter, from the public, so you can hear directly from the public about projects and about their concerns, because you would not be acting in a quasi judicial role on a permit. So your ability to talk directly with the public would not be constrained, but you would also not be making a decision on those. That would be the responsibility of the examiner to apply the rules that you establish, just like in the class 1 and class 2.
Well,
it's responsibility of staff.
Well, how does the council have input on a particular project versus policies that apply to all projects?
Yeah, you would have input on, as this is written, you would have input, on the policies and on the regulations and on the large scale planned mixed use developments. But under this scenario, you would not be involved in making a decision on a conditional use permit, for instance, or on a subdivision.
Well, a conditional use permit seems like a minor thing compared to a 10+ lot subdivision. I mean, everything in that type 3 list looks fine. Everything in that type 3 list looks fine until I get to the long subdivision category.
Is there a reason that couldn't be moved to a type 4 permit, which then
I don't know.
I mean, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it certainly could be.
I agree with you, but I also like the ability to actually talk with our constituents about certain things that they care about, and not have to sit in the quasi.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah. I don't like being muzzled.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was pretty hard to bite our tongue today, but
Mickey has a comment. Hang on.
go ahead.
Mickey, go ahead.
I think it bothers me more and there is that plus sign after the 10. Where does that end?
Say that again. Say that again.
It says 10 plus lots.
Yes.
Where does that end with that plus in there?
It doesn't.
I mean,
It doesn't.
That's what I'm getting at. And this, we're a mayor type government, not a city manager type government. City manager type government has this more reads like the city manager's government would, but we're a mayor type government, and so it's the council and the mayor and the planning commission. That's all we have. And when we start eliminating these bodies out of there, we're leaving something down the road sometime, a lot of latitude for someone.
Yeah, I'm concerned about a big project going through and council doesn't even know about it.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no place here that I see would even know about it.
So I guess at what point though, you're like, you go back to type 2 review, is 9 okay? Because type 2 review goes to a city designated staff and the hearing examiner is the appellate body, right? So now you have 9 or fewer lots, but 9 lots is also a big development in this small community. So is 9 okay, but 10 is not? Where's the number?
How do we come to that number?
9 is it's bigger than Cleo and Pines 1.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, so Cleo and Pines 1, the council would not have even known about it.
Except that in the case of Cleo and Pines 1, that is implementing a development agreement that was approved by the council. So in that case, you've established the parameters through the approval of the master plan. But otherwise, with respect to say if somebody were to come in with a 20 lot subdivision as written, it would not go to the city council. And if council, if you wanted to remain the decision maker of things like subdivisions, we can certainly, move, things like subdivisions to the fourth column if you'd like.
Well, certainly 9 or fewer lots, council would never know about it.
Nor would the committee, nor would the public, because there would be no public hearing required for that.
That's right.
It's just a public notice, so unless you're watching.
Right.
Right.
So,
Not a Susan would
Are
go
s-
for that.
are larger subdivisions always under a development agreement?
Yeah, are 9 or fewer lot subdivisions under a development agreement?
Well, a development agreement can be on any project that the city and the developer wish to enter into an agreement. Typically, you only see development agreements on larger scale projects or more complex projects, or projects that are implemented in phases over a number of years, so that there's the so that all the conditions of approval have been memorialized and easy to retrieve, and there's a degree of clarity that goes with them. So you typically wouldn't see a development agreement for a subdivision, but you would for things like Cle Elum Pines West, City Heights, and the larger, Bullfrog Flats project. So
all someone would have to do is do a 9-lot subdivision here, and then next year add 9 more, and then the next year add 9 more. And
well, except that there would be a problem with that under the law, because you can't break a project down into pieces in order to avoid the process. And so if there was a property owner that had a large property holding and was submitting a small development, we would figure that out pretty quickly, what was going on.
Or we would hope, or they would change names and another possible entity builds right next to them. There's ways around that. It's not ironclad protection of the city.
Mickey go ahead. Mickey has a comment.
Well, in the state of Virginia, we were limited to 25 lots. And so we did 300-400 developments on 25 lots. And so when you got down to 9 or 10, we started the next 25. Well, we did the whole damn thing on a 25 lot thing there. And I never really totally understood it, but they got around it because of the land tax laws, which suddenly made this number 25 work.
Here the threshold is not.
And I don't, that's, you leave something like 9 or 10 in there. Someday someone's going to figure how to make it work and run.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And none of us are going to be involved.
Right.
Because he comes in there, XYZ says I can do it. Well, and then the next line over says, go to Superior Court when you read this thing. I mean, it gives you the steps to do it.
What's written down.
Yeah.
So do we like the general nature of the proposal, but I think I can speak for council in saying subdivisions, we feel like, I believe in any number, ought to be something that we should consider. Does everybody feel comfortable with that? And directing him to basically write for that?
What is it now?
It's the dividing line 9, above 9 and below 9. That's exactly what it is now. The difference would be whether city council, you would like to reserve making decisions on subdivisions of 10 or more, or whether you would delegate that to the hearings examiner. So that would be the change. And it would certainly be council your prerogative, and we could easily make the revision so that you would continue to be the decision maker on subdivisions.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, so currently on a type 2 in our code right now, we are the appellate body.
Yes.
And then on a type 3, we're currently the decision maker. Is that?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Well, I just think, yeah, I think subdivisions should come to the city council in some form.
I would move that we direct staff to redraft this with the direction that subdivision consideration should come before the council with page 6, the name of the Washington State Growth Management Board being amended to its correct name, and under point 7 to read, the required public hearing may be conducted by the city council, planning commission, or the city hearings examiner at the discretion of the city council.
Great.
Let's take a second.
Second.
Okay. Repeat that, okay? Hang on, there's a motion. We'll repeat it, then we'll have discussion.
Would you like me to repeat it for clarity?
Yes.
So basically, to explain it, there's three changes to this.
Yeah.
All subdivisions would be considered a type 4 review under my motion. That the name of the Washington State Growth Management Board would be corrected to whatever its legitimate name.
Yes.
And the words "at the discretion of the city council"
Yes.
would be added to part number 7 to the effect that we would decide where the hearings are conducted.
Okay. It's moved and seconded to make that amendment for this. Is that just the amendment or change it?
That's the change that I would like to see before I could feel confident voting on this.
Okay.
And I don't feel confident voting on it tonight. That's where I'm at, but I mean, it's up to the council's stomach.
Okay, so there's a motion to add those changes to this document. Is that clear to everybody?
As mud.
As mud. So, okay, that's just the motion. We like that changed here. Any other questions? Any questions on that motion?
Yes. So are we making any subdivision of any size a type 4 review? Is that really what you're asking? Because we didn't say that clearly.
That's
So-
what I'm asking.
Okay.
for, and that's why I'm seeking from this council that their will and direction.
I only had one other question, which might end up being a friendly amendment, but maybe not. Right now, decision maker on type 1 and type 2 says as designated by the mayor and the city administrator. Why wouldn't it just be the mayor? The city administrator is just staff that does what you
designated
say.
by the mayor. And then, of course, the city administrator works.
Right, they just carry out it just seems strange that it says "and" because it would take concurrence by the city administrator according to how this is written, and that seems odd to me.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Maybe that's because it's chain of command.
I'm just gonna.
Go ahead.
Well, I was thinking the city administrator works for the mayor. The mayor can express his desire to the city administrator, and that's the one who supervises the staff that would be selected. So it makes sense.
Because
Stephen, go ahead.
everybody's under the mayor.
I understand that.
But he has, for that position, a supervisory capacity over his people. And so it would make sense that he would decide under certain things, administrative interpretations. Do you need to go to the mayor to decide who on the staff is going to make that decision? Or is the administrator just able to make that call of who's going to, make that decision?
Well, by how this is written, I wouldn't think it is that because it says the mayor and, which means it would need to be both of them, not just one. That's why I'm asking, should it be or should it be just the mayor?
I listening to the discussion, I think the probably the easiest way to clarify that would just be as designated by the mayor, because if the mayor has delegated that to the city administrator, then they would act accordingly. So I think just say as designated by the mayor.
That would be my friendly amendment too.
So I would, so then, being as we don't have to follow any Robert's rules of
Right.
orders, I would add that to my amendment, that be changed to city staff as designated by the mayor under type 1 and type 2 review. I would add that and seek the
I
second.
will second that.
Okay, any other questions on the motion to change the actual document?
And Mayor, if I could just clarify, is it the intent of the council that short plats, the 9 or fewer would also be decisions would be made by the council as well as the 10 or more?
That's the intent of the motion.
Okay.
Okay. Hang on. Any other questions? You got another question?
No.
You have another question?
Comment.
I don't have a question. I guess I do have a question. Can we have that red line when it comes out so we can see what
Yes.
we put in?
Certainly.
Is that hard to do?
No.
Nope, not at all.
Okay. Fine.
All right, you have a comment?
A comment related to the number of lots in a short plat. It's defined RCW 5817-020. Subdivision is the division of or redivision of land into 5 or more lots, tracts, blah, blah, blah. Item 6, short subdivision is the division or redivision of land into 4 or fewer lots, tracts, parcel sites, or divisions. However, the legislative authority of any city or town may by local ordinance increase the number of lots, tracts, or parcels to be regulated as short subdivision to a maximum of 9, which we have evidently done in the past. So the number is 9 here. But the standard under RCW, what is this? 5817-020 is 4. But in our city, it's 9. Just FYI.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor with aye? Aye. Those opposed? Hearing none, the amendment is being made to this document. Now, what's the motion? What's the appeal of council about passing this ordinance?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
can the council hear from Mayor on the reason for it?
The reason for it
Yeah.
is that it's actually important for us to be able to make a good decision on the upcoming developments that we get. Facts and how do you say that? I already told you about it. Finding a fact and the what's the word, Greg? Law? What's the word you get?
Conclusions of law.
Conclusion of law.
And legally supportable.
Yes.
Yes.
And we need to get that. Otherwise, Gary Byrne and the planning commission are going to have to do this hearing, and we'll have to get an attorney to sit with them. To do an accurate job.
I hear you. Okay, I hear you.
And that is the reason why it's important that we have this in place. That is the reason.
That really makes a difference for you to explain.
Yeah, and it's very important to make this process work.
I think those of us who've served on the planning commission had to sit in a quasi-judicial capacity, felt over our heads, and this is certainly something. Yeah, I mean, I felt that, and so I'm very supportive of this because of that. I want an attorney to be able to tell me what.
Yeah, he'd have to.
We can and can't do. We're still talking about 1609. Yeah.
Okay. So John, you have.
I have a question. We do not have a hearing examiner.
Not
Presently, we don't.
So if we pass this right now,
yes,
and something pops up that the hearing examiner is supposed to deal with,
yes,
how does it get dealt with?
We get a hearing examiner.
Okay, I'm just.
Yes, we will.
So I know, because if it says that the hearing examiner has to do it, or that's what it says in the document, and we don't have a hearing examiner, then
So we will be getting a hearing examiner.
Well,
pronto,
what's the,
and we'll see what the process.
what's
for
the,
that
I was gonna say the process and the timeline for getting it.
Similar for getting mediators, I would assume.
Do a request for proposals and.
I think we actually, there are hearing examiners available.
Yeah.
Okay, we can get them. They're out there. And we just, there really isn't any, you know, I'll let you know how we do it, okay? I can't say off the top of my head. But there are, I've been assured by our attorney that there are plenty of good hearing examiners out there that we can get at our beck and call. And a hearing examiner is a neutral professional. So trying to pick or choose, you know, we'll get a fair hearing examiner.
With you.
So that's my reason for it.
Okay. Well, then, would it be appropriate to make a motion?
Go for it.
To adopt ordinance number 1609 and including the amendments that the council,
to the document.
The council has passed. So I make such a motion.
Is there a second?
Can you restate?
This that we've been looking at, this whole repealing and replacing chapter 17 of our land use application processing, it is what is in ordinance number 1609 that we're considering. Now we have passed an adjustment and amendment in this already, but we haven't passed it yet. So I'm just making a motion that we pass it as we've amended it, and it's ordinance number 1609.
I'll second it for comment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm super happy with the amendments as they've been stated to the current document, but I still am not comfortable that I understand it in its totality, and as such don't feel qualified to enter a yes vote. And so I will be voting in opposition to the current motion.
I was also gonna request that we table it till the next meeting, just so we can see a clean copy with the changes before I wanted to vote on it. So I would also be voting no.
Well,
Okay.
First of all, we haven't had a second, have we?
Yeah,
Yes, we did.
second.
We did have a second.
Second.
Okay.
Well, it made a difference for me to hear from the mayor that we're getting in deep water here as a council and as a planning commission and all that. And this will, especially with what we just amended, keep us in charge of the things that matter. And it defines the type 1, 2, 3, 4 actions. And I think we understand that. And we took some of the type 3 stuff and type 2 stuff and made it type 4. We've just done that. But here, for covering the city's interests, with that done, I think what we have right here is good. And I made the motion and I will vote for it. I have confidence it'll work.
Any other questions on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay. We,
I would just request that you bring back a clean copy on the next agenda, and I'm ready to vote for it. I just want to be able to see it once more before I vote for it.
That's fair.
okay, I'll bring it back to the next.
I just want more study time.
Okay, let me, Greg Dorn, how does this affect our process?
We'll make the changes and have them highlighted and get it back to you and the council right away, Mayor.
Okay.
A slightly related, but perhaps unrelated, we had a pretty big crowd here today.
Yes.
Can our comment period be extended
I was gonna ask a similar question.
for that project?
I'd have to ask Greg what the, what are we working under? What,
Time restraints?
yeah, not time restraints, but, isn't this process defined? Isn't this defined? Isn't this defined by, either our ordinance or state law? What are we doing here?
Yes, Mayor, there are provisions in the city code and state law that establish the comment period, but I'm not aware of anything that would preclude an extension. So I'll take that up with the city attorney tomorrow and report back. But I understand that it's the intent of the council to extend a comment period, and in fact on another matter recently, we did just extend the comment period on a different type of project, but wanted to make sure that there was plenty of opportunity for comment. So I'll look to see if there's anything that would preclude us from doing so, and if not, I think that would be very reasonable under the circumstances.
Doesn't the comment period close before the next council meeting?
Yeah, it's a week, it's this Friday.
So
Here's be my proposal. I think that could solve that simple, is we can conditionally approve a 2-week extension pending legal advice. Basically, the legal advice would be the trigger, and if it's our will to extend it, pending positive legal advice from our council.
Is that a motion?
I motion to that effect. Seek a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Second by Ken, Kathy.
Moved and seconded to seek legal counsel's advice on extending the comment period another 2 weeks.
So let me clarify it. That is not the intent of the action. It's not to seek advice. It is
Right.
to conditionally approve it
Yeah.
so that immediately it can go in effect as soon as we have the advisement of counsel, our legal counsel. So in effect, right now, it is the 23rd. Comment ends on, I believe, the 27th, if I'm correct. So it would we would add 2 weeks as soon as tomorrow or the next day, we get the okay from legal that we can do it. Then it would go into, our 2-week extension would go into effect. That's the intent of my motion.
Okay, is that clear?
Yeah, so then it would go to September 10th. That's 2 weeks after August 27th.
Okay, we'll pursue that.
And so I would,
we need a vote.
we need a second, I think.
Second. Yes, it's already been seconded. There's a second. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion will be pursued. Thank you. Okay. We'll stay at it here. Next.
We weren't even gonna have a meeting today.
Yeah, I know.
Well, and if you see on this thing, the only thing that was gonna be on this thing was those two things, right? But that's all right. So now we're down to, and this has to do with this under new business, and this is 1615, and adopting interim official controls, and this is the flood hazard prevention. And Greg, why don't you explain to us what we're trying to do here?
Yep. And Mayor, members of the council, this is something that if the council is so inclined, you could take action on tonight. You could also defer it to your next meeting, but there is an important deadline coming up, and I'll explain that. There has been an extensive process over several years initiated by FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, to review and update the flood maps, the flood insurance rate maps, also known as the flood maps for Kittitas County. And in doing so, that would result in a new flood map and new flood zone designations for properties within the city of Elum. the deadline for adopting the new maps and some associated changes to the city's existing development regulations, Chapter 1524, which addresses flood hazard prevention. The deadline for that is September 24th of this year. And that is important because if the city is to remain eligible for participation in the federal flood insurance program, which is fairly significant, the new map and the associated changes have to be adopted by September 24th. The FEMA and the flood regulations are much of the administrative responsibility is delegated to the Department of Ecology, and the Department of Ecology, in reviewing the city's regulations, has identified, in addition to adopting the new map, some specific changes that need to be made. And they also identified a number of changes that they are recommending, but are not required to be made in order to remain eligible for flood insurance. So we have two categories of changes, ones that the city has to make in order to retain flood insurance, and others that have been recommended to the city by Department of Ecology. Also, the quite a bit of work was done to prepare amendments to update the city's critical area regulations, and frequently flooded areas are also covered by the critical area regulations. So right now the city has flood regulations in two different parts of the code, and many cities are taking advantage of the updates that they need to conduct to consolidate all the flood regulations into one set of regulations, so that property owners know what they can do, know what they can't do, and know what the standards are, and they're easy to find and they're clear and understand, and you don't have to look through different sections of the city's code to determine what you need to do. So the dilemma we have is that this action has to be taken by September 24th, and there really isn't any discussion or debate on what FEMA has said the city must do, but there is certainly some room to review and thoughtfully consider what they've suggested the city might want to do. And we are in a position where we don't want to jeopardize the city's flood insurance, nor did we want to put the Planning Commission in a position of saying, hurry up and make a recommendation and review these quickly, because we think they're important enough changes that they should be reviewed at the staff level and at the Planning Commission level very thoughtfully. And we didn't want to rush the review process, nor did we want to let an opportunity to consolidate all the regulations into one place get away from us either. So as we were looking at the workload on the Planning Commission's plate, we're also trying to get amendments to the city's future land use map and zoning map squared away. We have a number of other things stacked up on the Planning Commission's agenda. Our thought was the best way forward would be to separate the required changes, the things that the city has to do and that we really don't have any discretion with, from the things where we do have some discretion, and let's get the required changes made now, and let's then allow the Planning Commission and the staff enough time that we can review all of it and bring back a recommendation that is complete and thorough on all the matters that relate to not only the flood insurance, but some of the unfinished business and some of the questions, Council, that you raised regarding updates to the city's critical area regulations. So there is a provision in the state law that says that a city can adopt interim measures for a 6-month period to provide more time to do just what we're proposing to do here, to more thoroughly and carefully review all of the changes and then bring them back to the city council. So the ordinance that you have in front of you would adopt the mandatory changes that the city has been told must happen, but between now and September 24th. And we, although there, and we just haven't wanted to put cities' participation in flood insurance in jeopardy. So we've said, here are the mandatory things, and they're in the ordinance in front of you. And then we will take everything back to the Planning Commission, work through it, have a public hearing, and then bring a complete package back for final adoption, including, deleting the interim label and having it all be complete. So it's a 2-step process, but I think under the circumstances, given the importance of preserving flood insurance and the importance of making sure that Planning Commission and staff have adequate time to review all the comments, that this seemed to be an appropriate way to accomplish both of those needs. After we alerted Department of Ecology of our intent and confirmed that in fact was an appropriate way to proceed, we were advised that there was just one more thing that the Department of Ecology wanted to have changed in the ordinance. So from what you received on Friday to what you received today, Department of Ecology has asked or has told us that we need to change a couple of definitions, and we need to provide some clarity to make sure that things like basements, if they're developed, are developed appropriately in floodplains. So they are not new requirements, they are clarifications of the existing things. And although it was at the last minute, like, once again, we just thought that it was important enough to maintain eligibility in flood insurance that we are recommending that those additional changes that Ecology has requested be adopted. So it can be adopted, council, tonight at your meeting. It can be adopted next week, but action must be taken prior to September 24th. And knowing that everything plus is going to come back to you after we've gotten together with the Planning Commission and have kind of reviewed things from top to bottom, streamline things, and address some of the areas of potential concern. All that will come back to you again.
Okay.
So it seems odd to me that we left this till the 11th hour, especially since this could jeopardize our participation in the flood insurance program, which obviously we can't.
2 more meetings that we could.
I understand. I appreciate that. I guess I'm just wondering, is this something that we found out about recently, or why did we leave it to the very last minute?
Yeah, it is not new. It's been known for years, and a decision was made to leave it to the last minute. I think it would have been more appropriate and the city's interest better served if this was before you a year ago, or at least when the other revisions to the critical area regulations came forward. That certainly, I think, would have been better, but under the circumstances, with given the choice of hurrying up and adopting something or losing something pretty significant, we tried to find a way that we could do both, not lose what was significant, but make sure that that opportunity for thoughtful review does in fact occur, because it's pretty important.
So my concern is that at 3:08 p.m. well, no, I'm sorry, at 3:14 p.m. today, we received additional revisions to this that supposedly were highlighted in the document, but weren't actually highlighted. And so I'm going to make a motion to table this till the next meeting, because I don't know what I'm voting on because I couldn't actually see what was changed. And that certainly didn't give me enough time to look through and know what I'm voting on. So I'm going to make a motion to table this until the next meeting and ask that the planning department send us the document again with the highlighted changes from ecology, because I don't know what I'm voting on.
RTF format made it so you couldn't even go back to.
Yeah.
I'll second that. I can move with that.
Great. It's tabled. We'll bring it back.
Yep.
Committee reports? Don?
Can I ask one question?
Yes, go ahead.
It was referenced tonight, a letter from Mayor Roslin and a letter from the commissioners that was sent to the city. I saw those online. That was the first time I'd seen them.
They're published in the Tribune.
Right, but we did not get.
They didn't actually send them to us.
We did not get. We do not have a letter from the county.
Do we have one? Do we have one from the city of Roslin? Because that was sent in July.
Well, there might be one from Roslin.
Both are published.
Yeah, they are. I just want to know.
I understand that my concern again is that this is mail that was sent to the city, addressed to the city council, and we didn't receive it.
Yeah, so.
And it seems like an ongoing thing where there's stuff that's sent that's addressed to us that doesn't actually get to us.
Yeah, so.
And
I
I
was
didn't
a little
like.
surprised about the letter from the county in the paper because we have not got that. If we got stuff from the city of Roslin, I'd have to look to see.
On that? Could you check on that?
The one other open letter, I believe, is the one from the sheriff's department.
Got it.
There's one there too.
Motion to adjourn.
Second that.
I might mention, we do start our meetings at 6 now. There was a time.